So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Talonflame, one of the two Pokemon that gets access to Priority Tailwind. I almost said Prankster, it's not Prankster, it's Galewings. Access to Priority Tailwind in this format, the other being Murkrow, so they both have very different roles that they could play, so it basically just picks the one that fits your team / fits your playstyle a bit better. Talonflame is going to be able to do a couple of things very nicely that Murkrow definitely cannot do. It has access to Feint, so that's going to be able to break protection if you want to set up Tailwind and try to just body them and sweep them as fast as you can. Feint is going to be a very good way of doing that. Will-O-Wisp is going to be a very good way of mitigating the damage. Coming out from the physical attackers, we've seen support Talonflame run Will-O-Wisp a lot of the times before, so this wouldn't be so surprising to run this. A lot of people don't know that Talonflame gets Feint, but it does, so why not use it? So this EV spread is basically going off very similarly. I can't remember it exactly, but a lot of people ran bulky Talonflame back in 2014 VGC. Then it got second at Worlds in 2016, so it is still going to be entirely viable. The initial idea behind it was that you survive a Garchomp Rock Slide. This one can survive a Life Orb Garchomp Rock Slide twice if you burn it first, and a regular one just straight up if you didn't get a burn. It outspeeds Garchomp by 1 point, and then the rest is dumped into special defense. So you need the Citrus Berry to be able to get the survival of Life Orb Garchomp with, once you burned it, get survival of 2 Rock Slides. Without the Citrus Berry, Life Orb would get you, but you're still fine without it. So if you don't think you're going to face any Life Orb Garchomp, then it is still absolutely fine to drop the Citrus Berry for something else. A lot of people have been going for Covert Cloak, so that you can't be faked out and doubled into, so that you get your Tailwind stopped. So if they go for fake outs, you're still going to get your Tailwinds. Maybe not at Galewings priority, but you're still fast enough. The Galewings doesn't really matter on Talonflame anymore. The main niche of Galewings before it was nerfed was that you could spam Brave Bird. That was the thing. And now you can't really do that. It doesn't really matter that it's not priority Tailwind because you're one of the fastest Pokemon in the format regardless. Does not really matter. I got Overheat here. It is entirely fine to put Flare Blitz instead. Overheat can't be intimidated, but it can miss. And like Overheat doesn't give you recall as well. So it's up to you basically, like what your personal preference is. Do you want consistency of I will always hit, or do I want the shaky accuracy, but then I will not be able to be intimidated? If you have Overheat as well, then you would be able to make use of Eject Pack instead. So you can set up Tailwind, you can launch off an Overheat, and then you can eject yourself into one of the Tailwind sweepers as well. So that would be fine. That would leave you open to be intimidated on turn 0 and switch out so you can't even Tailwind on turn 1. So that is a little bit volatile, but paired with Overheat is a very nice combination as well. So this would be fine. I wouldn't recommend too many other moves on Talonflame. Taunt is fine. Taunt would be fine. We've seen Tailwind and Taunt as a combination, so you can get your Tailwind up, but you can also stop things like Trick Room, so you can control the speeds in that regard. You can go for Air Slash if you are going with a special one. It now gets Air Slash. Don't go for Hurricane unless you're on a rain team. And could go with Flare Blitz and Spray Bird as well. That would be fine. If you want to go physical, obviously change to not Adamant. Jolly instead, if you are going physical. But there's not too much else I recommend on the bulky Talonflame. I would recommend, that's coming up. That's spoilers. I want to go this one first. It's Quick Guard on the Focus Sash one if you're just going with the bulk. If you're just going for... This is the one for more offensive teams that just want to sweep in the Tailwind. So Quick Guard would make use on this one a bit better than the bulkier one because you're trying to sweep through. But I would still definitely recommend Feint on the one that's trying to just blast through with Tailwind. Focus Sash means that you are allowed to have a lot of special attack in your Talonflame. On the Focus Sash one, I would definitely have Overheat because then you're not breaking your own Focus Sash with Brave Bird or with Flare Blitz instead. So that is absolutely fine to run as well. If you've got the Focus Sash free, why not? This is a bulkier one that can actually take some hits quite nicely. And yeah, obviously change the move backs to the original ones. But then yeah, this is an alternative way of running Talonflame as well. So I used this set with no Tailwind. It's a bit weird to see it with no Tailwind and no Gale Wings as well. It should be Flame Body. That's not a mistake. So this was a Talonflame that I used a lot in Series 10 of Generation 8 VGC, where there was one restricted Pokemon allowed, but no Dynamax. And if you KO'd Urshifu, this Pokemon won. Because a lot of people would run Zacian, Rillaboom, and Incineroar, and this 1v3s them. So this is a Pokemon that I've had in my back pocket for a while. I don't know how it will translate to this format, this brand new format, but it was good back then, and it may be good now. You get to run Citrus Berry with Acrobatics, because then you don't get the recoil of Brave Bird. You still have to run Flare Blitz. Flame Charge is not worth, so you have to run Flare Blitz. But Acrobatics is an entirely reasonable move as well. so that you can go for your Citrus Berry activation, bulk up until your Citrus Berry is activated, or Flare Blitz yourself into Citrus Berry so that you can then acrobatics, and it does get access to Roost as well, so it can bulk itself out. You are afforded a bit more attack on this Talonflame than you were on the previous one, because you don't care about speed. This one doesn't care about speed, it's about bulking yourself out so that you actually just win the end game, because they can't touch you. So then you actually get some reasonable attack as well. And B, I recommend, well, I say B. Like, obviously, feel free to disregard me, but I recommend Dragon type as your Terra type for this Talonflame, because it will resist some of the super effective hits like Electric and Water that would have wanted to hit Talonflame, and it turns Rock into neutral as well, so this would be a pretty reasonable type for the bulk up set. And also Fairies don't want to be hitting your fire typing, so then it pairs nicely with that as well. So that is going to be it for Talonflame. I think it is pretty reasonable as a B. A lot of people will just default to it to a Tailwind setter. I think people will probably default to Talonflame more than Murkrow for the priority Tailwinds, so probably going to be seeing it a bit more in that regard. I don't think it's as good enough for an A. It definitely would be if it kept its normal, well, I say normal, old Gale Wings, where it was just every single time rather than at full HP, but this is still an entirely reasonable Pokemon, and it's going to serve its role very well.